Part 51. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 509. So let's give it a try. There is a hint of cruelty in Xia Tian's eyes. You Yanhuang people haven't returned yet. The only thing fighting us now is death, the arrogant king said lightly, very confident, and very self-confident. At the same time, he also has the capital to be confident. Each of the 7 original Sin Kings is the existence of a peak king. One person can hold Mu Swecking back, let alone others. The existence of the king. This is a situation of no life or death. Kill. Mu Swecking didn't say anything. Golden light bloomed in her hands and she started fighting. This was not a good thing for Mu Swecking. But there was no way out. The appearance of these kings, to put it bluntly, wanted to completely destroy them. Yanhuang. Retreat, wherever you can go. Chen Mengmeng also fought with the Zerg Mother Queen. Yantian still found his old opponent. King Lazy. Mu Swecking was held back by Lord Desire. Gee, I really don't understand, why should I care about the life and death of those ants? You and I are high above, sitting on the eternity of time, immortal. Why care about those ants? The Lord of Desire looked at Mu Swecking and said calmly. Ants. Mu Swecking's eyes were cold. She was not talking. It seems that those ants have begun to be afraid. Although they are under the protection of Yanhuang, how long can Yanhuang protect them? The Lord of Desire tilted his head and asked Mu Swecking. Killing you is enough, Mu Swecking said calmly, her eyes blooming with endless light. I want to kill Lord Desire quickly. But Lord Desire is also the peak king after all, how could he be defeated so quickly? It's a useless struggle, so it's better to run for your life, the Lord of Desire said lightly, further stimulating Mu Swecking. The Mother Queen of the Zerg tribe began to take action. It launched an attack towards the border of Yanhuang. 12 Mother Queens, plus 2 Masters of Subspace. 14 King level 1s. The fighting power is knocking at the border. Endless light blooms, and the years appear and dance. Broken under the terrifying power, interweaving bright fragments of time and space. Kill. Kill Yanhuang, a Zerg queen roared. The terrifying demonic sound was loud. This time they are determined to destroy Yanhuang. The years are fluctuating, and time and space are reincarnating. Who is bullying me? Yanhuang Grenren, a terrifying voice sounded, and the long river of time fluctuated. A figure with dazzling golden light came out of the long river of time. Magnificent, immeasurable. The light shining on the heavens. A figure with long black hair, handsome, carrying all the heavens together. Zun's spirit has emerged from the long river of time. 7th Ancestor. Mu Swecking looked at the 7th Ancestor who came out of the long river of time. Oh, it's you. The arrogant king looked at the 7th Patriarch. Ah, long time no see, arrogance. The 7th Patriarch looked at the arrogant king. The golden light was shining to the extreme. He punched out. The purple-black sky covering magic wings behind the arrogant king bloomed with endless magic light. Long time no see, old rival. The arrogant king looked at the 7th Patriarch with a smile on his face. It will be you who will be destroyed, today, the 7th Patriarch said lightly, stepping on the long river of time to appear in front of the arrogant king's reluctance. The arrogant king's pupils shrank and looked at the 7th Patriarch. Have you taken that step? The arrogant king looked at the 7th Patriarch. Not yet, thanks to you, it will probably take some time, the 7th Ancestor said calmly. The divine light on his body was shining to the extreme, and it was constantly blooming with radiant light. It was like a being respected by all the heavens. Pity, the arrogant army said calmly. What's a pity? It's a pity that if I kill you here, will you be resurrected again in the abyss to be slaughtered, the 7th Ancestor said calmly, with confidence. It's a pity that you may never be able to take that step. You shouldn't be here, the arrogant king said with profound meaning. Really? Then come and try it, the 7th Ancestor said calmly. He strode forward and fought directly with the arrogant king. "There's no one left," the jealous king said lightly and looked towards the Yanhuang border. "It's not just the Zerg and subspace kings who are looking at the border with eagerness. They are the same. Take action. Break the barrier and destroy Yanhuang," the jealous king said in a deep voice. "Let's take action together," the angry king said calmly. Endless light emerged outside the border. There was fear in the eyes of the people inside the border. Dozens of kings took action against them. This result is unacceptable to anyone. Fear is indiffused in the interweaving. The light blooms, and the endless power gathers. Bombards the boundary of Yanhuang. Hold head high, a golden true dragon emerged. Yanhuang. The supreme existence of the Yanhuang Empire. "It's finally out," the arrogant king looked at Yanhuang and said lightly. The seventh ancestor frowned. "What does this mean?" Under the stars, the 7 mortal sin runes shone with a strange light. "Remember what I said? Yanhuang will be destroyed today, and you won't be able to take that step," the king of the 7 deadly sins said calmly. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 510. The 7 deadly sin runes continued to shine. The brilliance then merged together. The 7th ancestor seemed to have thought of something. "Take one step." "Forget it," the arrogant king stopped the 7th ancestor directly. "Now that Yanhuang has also come out, you can take a good look at how Yanhuang is destroyed," the arrogant king said slowly. The light of original darkness shined in the galaxy. A terrifying monster appeared in the galaxy, filled with supreme power. The aura of the ultimate. The monster that combines the 7 original sins. The first original darkness. The combination of the 7 original sins. Like Yanhuang, it is a symbolic product. "You are so willing," the 7th patriarch looked at the arrogant king with gleaming eyes. The original darkness. It can be seen as part of the abyss. The real supreme evil. If there is any reluctance, you just need to hold off Yanhuang for a while. You know the existence of Yanhuang better than us. As long as the Yanhuang Empire is destroyed. Yanhuang is nothing," the arrogant king said slowly. The 7th ancestor's heart sank. This is not a good thing. Yanhuang is the last trump card of the Yanhuang Empire, the supreme power, but now it is secretly restrained by the original source. This is not a good thing. Relatively speaking, it can even be said to be a very terrifying thing. Yanhuang is contained. Those Yanhuang ancestral gods in other dimensions have not returned yet. So no one can resist these kings. "You are looking for death," the 7th ancestor roared, his body glowing with light. "It's you who die. I said today is the day when your Yanhuang will be destroyed." "This is true no matter who it is," the arrogant king said calmly. "A day destined to bleed, Yanhuang ends here," the arrogant king said contemptuously. "Damn it, Lin Niancheng is in the boundary, with anger in his eyes. He has just become a god. The gap between him and the ancestor is too huge. Even if he has the intention, he is unable to stop it all. The appearance of the original darkness seems to be doomed. The direction of this war. Yanhuang's biggest trump card is being contained. It is too difficult to give birth to a Yakuza. Even the 7th ancestor and others have spent countless years in order to break through and embark on the final path to the Yakuza. But still didn't take the last step. Die, the remaining 10 kings attacked the boundary barrier at the same time. Their purpose was to completely destroy the Yanhuang Empire. As long as the Yanhuang Empire was destroyed, Yanhuang would be nothing more than a rootless screen. Although Yanhuang was powerful, it was not an individual. A being with weaknesses. "Kill," the Yanhuang gods on the border roared, and they attacked the kings one by one without hesitation, trying to delay time. Even for a second. Lin Niancheng's eyes were firm. His figure was shining brightly. The gods' tactics emerged. Lin Niancheng walked towards the galaxy. "With a will to die. What my father can do, I can do too. Lin Niancheng thought of Lin Chen in his mind. Also in the realm of the superior gods, Lin Chen slaughtered 10 kings. Lin Niancheng believed that he could do the same. With this belief, Lin Niancheng took the initiative to find a mother queen of the Zerg tribe, the Black Sky Mother Queen. The mother queen of the Zerg, the true king. Kill. Lin Niancheng's eyes were filled with determination, and the god's battle method was pushed to the extreme. The wings behind his back cut through the galaxy. The bright light and the golden fist seal were directly punched out. Too weak, the Black Heaven Mother Queen looked at Lin Niancheng. With a move of faith, Lin Niancheng's body collapsed. It turned into blood mist, and then reorganized again. The gap is too big. Lin Niancheng felt deeply powerless. This gap seemed to exist in another dimension. Just one thought shattered his god's battle body. But then Lin Niancheng attacked again, and there was no way out. He could not retreat. Lin Chen's blood flowed in his body. Countless laws imprinted in the blood in Lin Niancheng's body revived and surged, and the bright and sacred light was magical. In the void, Lin Chen, who was entrenched in the big world, sensed the energy from the blood. Echoed. Opened his eyes. His eyes were disillusioned by the eternity of time. His slender body stood up from the big world. The bright and sacred light bloomed, and the endless laws were accommodated by Lin Chen in himself. Niancheng is in danger, Lin Chen murmured. In the sacrifice of a big world, Lin Chen walked on the road of kings. The whole big world was quickly disillusioned and completely absorbed by Lin Chen. Lin Chen's whole body was dazzling to the extreme. One step. Stepping out and embarking on the road back. In the main world, Lin Niancheng was bleeding, and his body was bleeding. The Black Heaven Queen screamed with angry light, and was injured by an ant. The Emperor's blood was dripping. This was something she had never seen before. Something I had never thought of. Lin Niancheng's body stood upright under the scarlet red. This guy, the King of Desire, looked at Lin Niancheng in surprise. Are they the descendants of that dragon? The Lord of Desire said with a smile on his face, looking at the familiar smell of blood on Lin Niancheng's body. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 511. Where has this guy been at this time? Mu Sueking looked at Lin Niancheng and sighed in her heart. Lin Chen has not appeared for a long time. He is either on the way back or still in Nirvana. Die, the Black Sky Mother Queen was furious, and her murderous thoughts condensed into a terrifying bloody long knife, which directly shattered Lin Niancheng's body. Lin Niancheng's body reorganized. His face was pale. After all, he was not his father Lin Chen. His combat power was limited, and he could not borrowing the power of Yan Huang. It is too dangerous and powerless to fight against the king. Relatively speaking, the Black Heaven Mother Queen does not know how to close the hand. The only thing standing in front of him is death. Lin Niancheng's face was horribly pale, and the origin appeared. It was a big problem. He would really die if he continued. But Lin Niancheng did not take a step back. His faith was supporting him. I won't die, Lin Niancheng said lightly. The blood in his body was throbbing. He felt that a familiar person was on his way back. Not far away. Die, and, the Black Heaven Mother Queen roared, and the moment before the endless darkness was about to envelope Lin Niancheng. A bright golden light. Sacred, eternal, shining for eternity appeared in front of Lin Niancheng. You can also touch my son, Lin Chen's voice sounded under the starry sky. The bright and sacred light continued to surround. The shadow of a big world appeared behind Lin Chen, sheltering Lin Niancheng in it. Well done, Lin Chen glanced at Lin Niancheng with a smile on his lips. Finally home, Lin Niancheng had a wry smile on his face, sitting under the galaxy a little exhausted. Lin Chen looked at the black heavenly mother queen with murderous intent in his eyes. Go back and rest first, leave the things here to me, Lin Chen said slowly. The immortal divine light bloomed, the ancient sacrificial voice sounded, and the long river of time and space surrounded Lin Chen. The sun, moon, and stars were all dim. The ancient god-killing war spear appeared in Lin Chen's body. In the hand. The golden color is bright. It runs through the long river of time and crucifies Black Heaven Mother Queen in the void. Have you thought about the consequences of doing this? Lin Chen strode forward. He was so powerful. Everyone on the battlefield looked at Lin Chen with fear in their eyes. Lin Chen was too strong. With one move, He Tianmu Huang was nailed to death in the galaxy. Hey, this guy. Just kidding, the Lord of Desire murmured and looked at Lin Chen. He is also a king. But the Black Sky Mother Queen was directly nailed to death in the void by Lin Chen. She is still struggling. But the gap in combat power is already obvious. I once said that if you are of the same rank, you will be slaughtered as a dog, Lin Chen said lightly. His long black hair was flying naturally under the stars. With one step, Lin Chen appeared in front of the Black Heavenly Mother Queen. The golden fist mark penetrated the river of time and struck with an invincible aura. The body of Lord Krishna collapsed. Since I hurt my child, I'll pay for it with my life. Lin Chen said with cold eyes. The blood of the emperor was dripping. The soul of the Black Heavenly Mother was fluctuating and roaring, with unwillingness and fear. One by one, no one can leave, so just stay here, Lin Chen said lightly, glancing at the existence of other kings and emperors. As for the Lord of Subspace, this kind of chaotic and disorderly existence was not considered by Lin Chen at all. It is a chaotic existence in itself, relying on instinct to survive. Act. Even a king is nothing more than this. What are you afraid of? Lin Chen looked at the Black Heavenly Mother Queen. Endless laws surged in Lin Chen's hands. Destroy the world, the heavenly sound of the avenue sounded. Endless annihilation bloomed under the stars. The soul of the Black Heaven Mother was torn apart, and the breath of annihilation and annihilation bloomed in the immortal soul of the Black Heaven Mother. Kill him, what are you still doing? Wait for him to defeat them one by one, the Lord Desire's voice sounded, and he said angrily. Lin Chen's combat power cannot be solved by one or two of them now. Only by working together can we have a chance. Useless, Lin Chen said lightly, without even looking at the kings who were attacking him. He crushed the soul of the Black Sky Mother Queen forcefully, and the endless light of order bloomed. The soul of the Black Sky Mother Queen was wiped out, leaving behind the purest life. The origin was constantly fluctuating in place. A king fell like this. This was something that no one expected, including Mu Sueking. Although she knew that Lin Chen would be very strong in the future, she did not expect that Lin Chen could be so strong. To the extent that he can completely obliterate a king as soon as he steps into the realm of a king. No wonder there will be enemies in the future who want to obliterate him in the past. Go back and have a good rest. I will come back after packing them up. Remember to tell them to prepare a meal and wait for me when you go home. Lin Chen simply refined the origin of the Black Heavenly Mother Emperor. Then he directly penetrated into Lin Niancheng's body and said to Lin Niancheng. Lin Niancheng nodded, with a hint of joy in his eyes. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 512. Sent Lin Niancheng into the Yanhuang Empire. Lin Chen looked at those kings and emperors. I said, among those of the same rank, I will kill you like butchering a dog, Lin Chen said lightly. The golden light under his feet kept flashing. Time and space fragments were flying. The endless life and death in Lin Chen's eyes were evolving. A big world emerged behind him. Eternal destruction, the sky sound of the avenue sounded, and the demonic sound was mighty. Lin Chen showed terrifying demonic power. The bright and sacred light was almost destroyed. All the bodies of Jun Yahuang were collapsing, and the Lord of Subspace was even more unbearable and almost transformed. For nothingness. Die like this. The only one who is better is the original Sin King, who is also the Peak King after all. Although his body is cracking and bleeding, he can still continue to fight. The furious king appeared in front of Lin Chen holding a fierce weapon. His face with a ferocious look on his face, the Peak King is completely different from the ordinary king. Although the combat power displayed by Lin Chen is powerful, it is far from enough to make them, the original Sin Kings, afraid. And they themselves are not the reason why I am afraid of these things is because they are immortal. Even if they die here, they will come back in the abyss. There is no price for it, it only requires a few billions of time. Lin Chen's eyes were disillusioned, the devouring euphorbia appeared in Lin Chen's hand. The devouring euphorbia has accompanied Lin Chen in battles until now, and it has been there since Lin Chen was weak. It's not that the devouring euphorbia is not easy to use, but that it doesn't have it. It was necessary. Similarly, the king Lin Chen killed, the swallowing euphorbia also swallowed the king's blood, and it also evolved to its fullest extent. The scene of the birth and death of the world and the fall of gods appeared on the swallowing euphorbia. Together they were fierce soldiers, ferocious soldiers capable of tearing the world apart. Weapons stained with the blood of kings. Existences that have killed kings. You seem confident in your own strength, Lin Chen said lightly, and a bright golden light appeared on Lin Chen's body, light. Pure light. For a moment, the furious king seemed to feel that the time around him had slowed down. It was not because of Lin Chen's actions and transcendence time. In an instant, billions of attacks acted on the body of the furious king at the same time. The body of the furious king exploded to pieces. Lin Chen's body was stained with the king's blood. The euphorbia was swallowing red light. This was something no one expected. Matter. It's too slow. Lin Chen's eyes were disillusioned, and he stepped on the long river of time and attacked many kings and emperors. I am invincible among the same level, even the Peak King is the same, Lin Chen said lightly. The aura of invincibility was filling the air, and a bright light appeared on Lin Chen's body. Shining for eternity. Trouble. The arrogant king looked at Lin Chen. He never thought that such a monster would come out halfway. He directly blocked more than 10 kings with his own strength, and among them was the existence of the Wuzun Peak King. This was something that the arrogant king did not expect. Matter. You will all die here today. Lin Chen said lightly, his tone was very calm, as if he was stating a fact. What is gone will eventually pass away, what withers will eventually wither, flowers will bloom and fall, everything will die, the world will wither, time will wither, and eternity will be extinguished. The heavenly sound of the avenue sounded. Lin Chen's origin communicated with the avenue, forming a terrifying Taoism. The demonic sound was so majestic that the entire main world was affected. Everything was withering. Under Lin Chen's demonic sound, it was heading towards destruction. Endless light, brilliant withering light, light of destruction, and light of annihilation bloomed at the same time. The king shed blood and came to an end. This was something no one expected. Lin Chen was stronger than the sea monster they thought, and he was unwilling to give in. Just to stop them, but to keep them all here. Completely obliterate and kill them. The original Sin King roared, but the body decayed under this terrible law. Not only did it move towards self-destruction, it also collapsed. Destruction. This is not a good thing. They are heading for destruction. Their own origins are decaying and withering. It is different from the way of this world. The arrogant king looked at Lin Chen with a trace of murderous intent in his eyes. The ultimate master has just walked out of his own way. Even the seventh ancestor at the current position has only taken half a step. Lin Chen has completely walked out of his own path. Road. It is different from the Taoism of this world. It belongs to your own road, and there is no obstacle to the road ahead. It only takes time to temper it, and Lin Chen can step into the realm of achieving the highest level. Kill him. The arrogant king couldn't sit still. He couldn't watch Lin Chen go on like this. He thought that the prototype of the Supreme Being was not what he wanted to see. The Desire King also looked at Lin Chen with murderous intent. Lin Chen showed it his fighting power is too terrifying, and more of him has gone his own way. This is the most terrible thing. Now Lin Chen is already a king. If he continues, as long as he has enough time to temper himself, he will step into the realm of the Supreme. It's only a matter of time. They think that the birth of the Supreme Being, the ultimate being, is something they don't want to see. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 513. What are you anxious about? Then continue to play slowly. The seventh ancestor blocked the arrogant king and said lightly, looking at the arrogant king with a hint of ridicule in his eyes. The arrogant king's face darkened. He had blocked the seventh ancestor just like this. But now it was completely the other way around. This made the arrogant king very upset. Unhappy, but there is no way. He himself is more dangerous than anyone else. After all, the seventh patriarch has half a foot in the supreme realm. Why? The arrogant king sighed. He wanted to wipe out Lin Chen, but he couldn't do it. Now the arrogant king realized that Lin Chen had truly grown up. He was no longer the person they regarded as an ant. From the moment he stepped on, the moment he becomes a king, unless the Supreme One takes action, Lin Chen will not have any problems. As long as there is enough time, it is just a matter of time before Lin Chen steps into the supreme realm. Thinking of this, the arrogant king also calmed down. Calm down. There's no point in being anxious now. Lin Chen's big deal is done. You thought you won. The arrogant king looked at the seventh patriarch. This is a good thing, but it's not necessarily true, the arrogant king said to the seventh patriarch with deep meaning. The seventh patriarch frowned and looked at the arrogant king. It's been a long time since there was a Yakuza in this world, right? How long has it been? How many epochs? The arrogant king said calmly and looked at the seventh ancestor. The seventh patriarch narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the arrogant king. This will bring you great disaster and is not a good thing. The arrogant king looked at Lin Chen and said lightly. This world was born easier than you think. It was once a splendid world, with splendid civilizations one after another. Do you know what happened to them in the end? The arrogant king looked at the seventh ancestor and said calmly. As if telling a fact, the arrogant king was born a long time ago, which can be traced back to the birth of the abyss. The seven kings were all born at that time. Pity. The arrogant king shook his head. Your civilization is about to be destroyed, which is really boring, the arrogant king said calmly, not as if he was alarmist. What do you mean? The seventh patriarch looked at the arrogant king and felt something was wrong. What's the meaning? The arrogant king looked at the seventh patriarch with a smile on his face. This world cannot give birth to the Supreme Being, and he should not take this path. The arrogant king looked at the seventh ancestor and said calmly, and then looked at Lin Chen, who was fighting fiercely. Don't you think your world is a little strange? It's the same world, but different races practice different systems, the arrogant king said calmly. The seventh ancestor's pupils shrank. The seventh ancestor was also a little confused about this question. He had seen the cultivation methods of other dimensions in other dimensions. Even if they were of different races, the cultivation methods were the same. There is no such thing as the difference made in this way is only a slight difference at most. But it does not want to be the same as the main world. The gap between the cultivation methods of each race should not be too big. Different races cannot practice at all. Are you confused? The arrogant king looked at the seventh patriarch and said with a smile on his face. Although the abyss is terrifying, what is even more terrifying is the human heart. Your world is only these few epochs. But the time is almost up, starting from the moment the sky appears. The arrogant king looked at Lin Chen and said lightly. What's the meaning? Tell me clearly, the seventh ancestor asked the arrogant king with a hint of solemnity in his eyes. What do you mean? The arrogant king shook his head and looked at Lin Chen, who was not fighting. It's a pity that the game between us is coming to an end, the arrogant king said with a hint of boredom. Game? Finished, the seventh ancestor looked at the arrogant king. There is something that left a cultivation method in your world, you understand? Different races and different cultivations can collide with bright fireworks, but in the end they all lead to the same goal by embarking on the path to the Supreme One, the arrogant king said slowly. But what if I say that the highest road in this world has been cut off? Or do you believe that I was blocked? The arrogant king said with a smile on his lips. The hairs on the seventh patriarch's body stood on end. He didn't think that the arrogant king would say this for no reason. There was no need to lie. The seventh patriarch knew the arrogant king very well. Although this guy was an opponent, he had never been. I didn't say panic, and there was no need. Think about it carefully. How long do you think your time was born? The arrogant king looked at the seventh ancestor and said slowly, with a smile on his lips. But this smile made people shudder. How long has it been since the world was born? The seventh ancestor didn't know, and even said it was a long time ago, too long to be imagined. When the ancestral star was born, the time for the birth of human beings is billions of years, and the time for the birth of human beings is only a few thousand years. Compared with the billions of years, the time for the birth of human beings is really insignificant. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 515. The destined ending. The seventh ancestor's eyes were filled with shock and determination. I believe in him, the seventh ancestor said calmly and looked at Lin Chen. Yeah? Being so confident may be a good thing, but it is not necessarily a good thing. Sometimes hope brings not only light, but also deep and invisible abyss. And despair without the slightest hope, the arrogant king said calmly. Sitting and watching the long river of time, sitting at the source, those guys are watching from the other side. Everything that happens here cannot escape their eyes. Maybe one day, or maybe in the near future, the ending is already doomed. It's time to leave, the arrogant king said lightly. He looked at the seventh ancestor with a smile on his face. Why? The seventh patriarch looked at the arrogant king and was a little confused. He was leaving now after so much trouble? Before he appeared, he could still do it for a while, but when he appeared, it was already doomed for so long. This was an agreement, their agreement in the abyss. This is their backyard, and we can pick the fruits before they are ripe. But after life matures, we have to leave soon, the arrogant king said calmly. Waiting for the next planting of seeds, the arrogant king looked at the seventh ancestor and said slowly. He told a cruel truth. A terrible truth. An unacceptable truth. We are all seeds, the seventh ancestor said in a deep voice. A feeling of powerlessness came over him. Who are they? The seventh ancestor looked at the arrogant king and said in a deep voice. Didn't I say that from the beginning? The first batch of innate saints born in this world. The arrogant king waited to look at the seventh patriarch with a smile on his face. Those guys are truly beings sitting at the source of time, on the other side of time and space, looking at their backyard. You are the seeds, taking root, sprouting, blooming and bearing fruit. This is a destined ending, and everything is following their script, the arrogant king said slowly. Goodbye, the arrogant king said to the seventh patriarch. The seventh patriarch was a little silent. The arrogant king will not lie to others, or there is no need to lie to the seventh patriarch. This is a meaningless thing. As for death, the arrogant king will not die at all unless the abyss is destroyed. Destroyed, otherwise the arrogant king will come back sooner or later. So all this is true. There is a heavy look in the eyes of the seventh patriarch. The heavy truth is beyond words. Maybe never again, the arrogant king said with a smile on his face. If you want to live, come to the abyss, "This is your world," the arrogant king said lightly, and his figure gradually disappeared. The Desire King, the Lazy King, the Furious King and others also followed suit. Lin Chen did not expect this change, but it was a good thing. For Lin Chen, the existence of the king is not a good thing. It is best to leave and wait for him to liquidate one by one in the future. The war is over. It is not accurate to say that the battle is over. The war is far from over. The seventh ancestor has a look in his eyes. Looking solemnly at the other side of time and space, there are some huge things hidden there. Looking at the world. Seventh ancestor Lin Chen looked at the seventh ancestor with a smile on his face. "Well, good job," the seventh ancestor said slowly, his face a little heavy. Lin Chen raised his eyebrows and felt something was wrong. "This is not the place to talk. Come with me," the seventh ancestor said to Lin Chen and Mu Sueking. Chen Mengmeng was a little confused, but still returned to the boundary. "What's going on, seventh ancestor?" Lin Chen looked at this white space. It was the little world of the seventh ancestor. Mu Sueking also looked at the seventh ancestor with a trace of doubt in her eyes. "Do you know why the abyss recedes?" the seventh patriarch said with a hint of exhaustion in his tone. "Why?" Lin Chen is actually quite confused. "You listen to me first," the seventh ancestor slowly told Lin Chen and Mu Sueking all the things the arrogant king told them. "What?" Lin Chen's eyes were shining. "Could it be fake?" Mu Sueking took a deep breath and said. She was a little shocked. This was a little unacceptable. "I hope so, but there is absolutely no need for the arrogant king to do so," the seventh ancestor said slowly, with a glint in his eyes. "Moreover, they really pushed it away, didn't they?" the seventh ancestor said slowly. Lin Chen felt heavy in his heart. Who knew that the world he lived in was actually someone else's back garden? In this garden, all races were just seeds and could not accept being harvested. Lin Chen was the same. Same. How dare they? Lin Chen's eyes were filled with rage. Being used as a seed was because of himself. He wanted to take away his Dao fruit. This was something Lin Chen didn't expect. "I don't know, but I'm going to check it out," the seventh ancestor said in a deep voice. "Where to go?" Lin Chen looked at the seventh ancestor. "The source of the river of time," the seventh ancestor said calmly. "If it is true as the arrogant king said, then the long river of time will definitely leave their footprints," the seventh ancestor said in a deep voice. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 516. How long does it take? Lin Chen said slowly, with a bad premonition in his heart. This is not a good thing. If it is true, it has been dangerous for so long. "Let's go together, I also want to verify it," Lin Chen said in a deep voice. The river of time emerged. It was the first time for Lin Chen to step into the river of time. Although the king and ancestor god had no problem entering the river of time, there are still many taboos that cannot be touched. Is this the long river of time? Lin Chen stepped into the long river of time for the first time. The breath of eternity is filling the air, intertwined with the terrifying breath. The years are changing, and there are constant changes. Is that the future? Lin Chen looked down the long river of time. The years were constantly flowing. The years spanning eternity were constantly passing by, teleporting into the distance. Lin Chen's eyes had a trace of heaviness. No one knew what would happen in the future. Lin Chen himself, I don't know that although there is a future self, it is difficult to ensure that the future self is really invincible. If you follow what the arrogant king said, their enemies are the innate sacred beings that existed at the birth of the world. As soon as they were born, they were an invincible existence, sitting on the origin of time, overlooking the existence of eternity. A true immortal giant. Moving along the long river of time. Lin Chen saw himself, constantly experiencing various things, and then growing up. His own growth trajectory, what he cherishes. People even saw the time when Lin Niancheng was born. At that time, he was outside the territory, searching for a way back in nothingness. These things are indelible things, things that have already existed, Musweking said slowly. The seventh ancestor looked upstream of time without batting an eye. Following the footsteps of the seekers, he headed upstream along the long river of time towards the source. One step is an eternity, one step is an era. The king is immortal and eternal. Save. Lin Chen saw a familiar scene. The human race was still on the ancestral star. It had not yet risen, and Yan Huang had not yet been born. The first 100 dragons were still fighting. The years were retreating around Lin Chen. Constantly moving forward, constantly moving towards the years moved forward. A few withered bones and a broken battle flag. Lin Chen looked at all this with a hint of horror in his eyes. These things. Lin Chen took a deep breath. These dead bones flowed down from the upper reaches. It's just a shadow caused by the death of powerful beings in the past. The eternal resentment was manifested by someone coming here, the seventh ancestor said in a deep voice. Perhaps what the arrogant king said was true, Lin Chen said in a deep voice. The three of them followed the long river of time and crossed countless ending points to the end and source of the long river of time. In other words, it was the source that was cut off. Some people changed the end and origin of the long river of time, and some changed it. All this. Cut off the long river of time. No more. How is it possible? Lin Chen said in a deep voice. This is the source of time. But the past is here and gone. Time has no source. The so-called source is just a certain point. But now, what appears in front of Lin Chen and the others is a huge gap. A huge gap that is cut off. The long river of time has been cut off. Cut off abruptly. People in the past cannot come to the future, and people in the future cannot go past. Even if there is a supreme being, they cannot go there. Further into the past. That piece of ancient history has been completely destroyed. Everything has been artificially erased and disappeared over the long river of time. From the long river of time, we can see that the birth of each race is not about evolution. It has been like this since it came from one place. The so-called evolutionary history does not exist. Looking at it from the source, the major races seem to appear out of thin air. There is no so-called evolutionary history. There seems to be something inside. Musweking looked at the huge abyss vault with a hint of horror in her eyes. The long river of time was cut off, forming a huge abyss vault. Something was shining inside. Maybe it's something handed down from ancient history, the seventh ancestor said in a deep voice. I gonna go see, the seventh patriarch said slowly. Just as he got close, time broke. The years are changing. The seventh patriarch's body is becoming old and transparent, as if he will disappear from this ancient history at any time. Where is the terrifying power of time, even if it is a king? It's hard to resist. One humanoid creature, the seventh ancestor said in a deep voice. He saw clearly what was under the time gap. A humanoid creature was entrenched in it, its body blooming with light. Immortal and eternal. The breath of time is filling the air. It spans eternity. Humanoid. Lin Chen took a deep breath. This is not a good thing. There are humanoid creatures sitting here, sitting on the time fault. Cutting off the way to the past. Those are innately sacred. Lin Chen gritted his teeth and said. Only they would do this, blocking the way to the past. Blocking people from the past from returning. Blocking people from the present from passing. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 517. Just when the three of them were thinking about it, the humanoid creature walked up the road step by step from the abyss. There are dragon horns on the head and white jade wings on the back. King. With the scent of divine origin. People from the past, the voice sounded with a hint of contempt and arrogance. Although they are all kings, it is obvious that this humanoid king looks down on Lin Chen and the others. What are you? Lin Chen said lightly, looking at this humanoid king. Has this piece of ancient history finally come to an end? I thought it would take a while. This humanoid king looked at Lin Chen and said slowly, with a trace of surprise in his eyes. It's time to harvest when it's ripe. It's a pity that this ancient history has come to an end, the humanoid king said lightly, talking to himself. He never looked directly at Lin Chen and the others. In his eyes, Lin Chen and the others were just seeds planted and fruits produced. Lin Chen took a deep breath. Harvest Nemas B. Lin Chen held a golden fist seal in his hand. He hit the humanoid king directly. The humanoid king looked at Lin Chen with contempt. He stretched out his white jade-like arm and blocked it directly. Yes, this is the fact, the humanoid king said calmly. Introduce yourself, Gu Tian. A member of the Daogu clan, Gu Tian said lightly, his whole body blooming with light like white jade. Even if you don't want to admit it, this is the fact. The appearance of fruit means that this piece of ancient history has come to an end, and there is nothing left to cherish, Gu Tian said lightly. His whole body burst into light. It hit the long river of time and set off endless waves. Our clan stands on the other side of time, looking at the eternal epochs, the changes of years, and the epic changes. In the eyes of our clan, they are just a leaf in a long life. Spring passes and autumn comes, time passes by in the blink of an eye. Gu Tian accepted the words calmly. Lin Chen's eyes were filled with rage. This feeling of being superior is really unpleasant. Lin Chen strode forward. Mu Sueking and the seventh ancestor did not speak. The golden immortal light appeared on Lin Chen's body. Who gave you the capital to look down on me? Lin Chen stepped on his feet very quickly and appeared in front of Gu Tian with cold eyes. The golden fist seal bloomed with endless light. It illuminated the long river of time. It's useless. Everything you cultivate is just the seeds left by our clan. All the Tao and all the Dharma are just scraps passed down by us and need to be perfected by your seeds, Gu Tian said lightly, telling a cruel truth. The methods they practiced were all scraps passed down by Gu Tian's family. And they were just the seeds for perfecting these methods. What they harvested was not just human-shaped fruits, there is also the fruit of Dharma. I have to say that you did a very good job, even perfect, being able to perfect the leftover techniques to this point. Not bad, Gu Tian said lightly. Lin Chen cursed loudly. Let you see the Dharma left behind by ancient history, Gu Tian said lightly. One flower, one world, one thought, one era. Gu Tian's voice just fell. The endless Tao was shining brightly, burying Lin Chen's body. Endless time and space flowed through Lin Chen's body, shattering and destroying Lin Chen's body. Lin Chen's body was reorganizing and blooming brightly. Emit endless divine light to resist all this. The body is immortal, the soul is immortal, one path is empty, and all paths are empty. The endless luster of Lin Chen's roar bloomed. Eternal and glorious. A good way to teach. Gu Tian looked at Lin Chen with an interesting look in his eyes. There are better ones. Lin Chen had a fierce light in his eyes. His eyes turned into endless divine light. Endless power bloomed. In an instant, he appeared in front of Gu Tian. An eternal moment, Lin Chen roared, and the years were fluctuating. The endless power of time acted on Gu Tian's body. Gu Tian's body bloomed with bright light, and the white jade-colored light was swaying as he looked at Lin Chen. The power of time dissipated, and Gu Tian appeared intact in the eyes of Lin Chen and others. Taoism is invalid. Lin Chen looked at Gu Tian, and that weird white jade-colored light wiped out all the principles. My body is filled with innate sacred blood, my body is incomparable, and my Taoism is inviolable, Gu Tian said lightly, telling a disappointing fact. Maybe it's been too long since I've spoken, and I can't help but want to say a few more words when I see someone. Gu Tian shook his head and said slowly. In his eyes, Lin Chen and others are already dead. There is no possibility of going back even after walking here. Although the fruit is still very green, it can be regarded as bearing fruit. This piece of ancient history has come to an end, and the next piece of ancient history will be reopened, Gu Tian said lightly. Plant the seeds and leave the firewood, Gu Tian thought thoughtfully. This is what they have been doing. It is also what they have always followed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 518. After hearing Gu Tian's words, the seventh patriarch and Musweking couldn't help but have angry gleams in their eyes. This guy is too arrogant and too inhumane. This is treating them all as human beings. Thank you very much. Lin Chen's eyes were disillusioned and he looked at Gu Tian. Gu Tian looked at Lin Chen, somewhat confused as to what Lin Chen's words meant. Thank you for telling me your weaknesses, Lin Chen said lightly. The body bloomed with endless light. The golden immortal light bloomed. Endless blood was released. By coincidence, Lin Chen's strongest body is also his physical body. Let me see if your blood is black. Lin Chen grinned with a smile on his face, and his white teeth gave him a chilling feeling. Is this what is called innate sanctity? Lin Chen appeared in front of Gu Tian. The blood in his body was roaring, and a wisp of blood shattered the world. In the long river of time, he abandoned the terrifying waves. Die, Lin Chen looked at Gu Tian with murderous intent in his eyes. Eternal years are flowing, and Lin Chen's eyes are filled with endless coldness. Fighting directly with Gu Tian, with an unparalleled physical body? Taoism is inviolable? Lin Chen doesn't believe this. The boastful guy can really do this. Even if someone can do it, it is definitely not the guy in front of him. At the same level, Lin Chen is confident that he is invincible. With this belief, Lin Chen's fingers bloomed with terror. The light. The endless power of blood is filling and surging, and the power of the berserker in the body is resurrecting, giving Lin Chen a trace of blood. Maybe I will lose to someone one day, but it will definitely not be you, Lin Chen said lightly. His 10 bright fingers directly tore Gu Tian's body. Gu Tian looked at the wounds on his body with some disbelief. Then came the rage. Boundless rage. A descendant who claims to be innate and holy, sitting on the other side of the heavens, overlooking the long river of time, the existence that is indelible for thousands of years is also the greatest existence in the heavens. It is also the existence that makes the heavens its own pasture. But now it is actually damaged, although it is not a big one. He was injured, but he still bled. This was something he couldn't accept. A person he regarded as a fruit hurt himself. It seems that your blood is also red. I thought your blood was black. Lin Chen looked at Yin Hong's blood dripping in the river of time with a faint expression of defeat. Immortal, right? Lin Chen has a fierce light in his eyes, and he is extremely powerful. I have never believed in immortality. As long as it is a living being, it can be wiped out. No matter who it is, even those who are truly innate and holy. You are just a string. What are you hanging on? Lin Chen looked at Gu Tian, but he didn't care so much. He was talking about killing himself. Gu Tian's face was gloomy. Something unimaginable happened to him. You deserve to die. Gu Tian could no longer live up to his previous calm expression and looked at Lin Chen ferociously. I deserve to die? It's you who deserves to die. Chew on. Lin Chen strode forward. The terrifying power directly shattered the river of time. The two fought in the river of time. This was something unbelievable. The seventh ancestor and Musweking did not expect Lin Chen to be so ferocious. Originally, they came to negotiate, but Gu Tian showed from the beginning that he did not regard them as human beings. So they took a step slower. But Lin Chen is not that easy to talk to. Just do it and it will be done, no matter what you say. Okay, wait for their harvest, then why not strike first and kill the one who is talking about it? What to pretend to be? Chew on, there is no human blood flowing in the body, Lin Chen said lightly. His right hand was like a heavenly sword that directly penetrated Gu Tian's body. Gu Tian felt a little aggrieved. Lin Chen's human body was terrifying to the extreme, and Taoism was inviolable. This was something he had never thought about. Yin Hong's blood dripping. It's nothing special. Why are you so proud of me for being the only one? Are you so pretentious? Lin Chen's eyes were filled with fierceness, but he said unforgivingly. You are seeking death. I am an innate divine descendant, and you are seeking death, Gu Tian said in a deep voice. Really? That's just right. I also want to see what's so great about your innate sanctity. Isn't it just that you have an extra pair of horns and a pair of wings? What a great skewer, Lin Chen said lightly. Gu Tian's face was ashamed and angry. This guy is not a human being. Come on, show me what you're doing. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes slightly and said. Countless rays of light appeared in his hand, blooming, and the aura of chaos emerged. Gu Tian's body was completely blown up by Lin Chen. Countless rays of light gathered. Gu Tian roared, a little crazy. As a descendant of the divine, he was blown up by someone he regarded as a fruit. This is a shame. Calling Nemo, Lin Chen said with disdain at the corners of his mouth, and bullied him again. He was bullying Gu Tian because of his problem with his close quarters ability. He pressed Gu Tian and beat him violently. But there is a saying that Gu Tian's strength still made Lin Chen a little bit. It's hard to imagine. After all, as descendants of those who have existed since the birth of the world, their own strength must not be weak. Beast Tamer, Divine Beast Tamer. Author, I am Lao Wu. Chapter 519. But relatively speaking, Lin Chen's strength is not that weak. He crawled out of the mountain of corpses and sea of blood, compared to an existence like a monitor like Gu Tian. Lin Chen's strength is naturally much stronger. Moreover, Gu Tian's power lies more in his own innate sacred bloodline. A bloodline that goes to the extreme. The bloodline passed down from the birthplace of the world has gone through countless ancient history, and its existence cannot be eroded even by time. Harvesting was launched again and again. Harvest the fruits again and again. Who knows how many innate saints there are sitting on the other side of time and space, and how many fruits of the great avenue they have harvested? But the only thing that is certain is that Gu Tian is not Lin Chen's opponent. Die to me. Lin Chen had a fierce light in his eyes. Gu Tian's body collapsed. The sacred origin was flowing, with an immortal breath. It was the innate sacred blood, and it itself was an existence that surpassed all living things. Lin Chen's body was in desire to devour this source. You dare? Gu Tian's soul is fluctuating, and the luster like white jade is blooming. For him, Lin Chen is tainting himself. It's not that kind of taint, but tainting himself. He feels that Lin Chen is just a seed, and he is superior. His innate sacred bloodline. Immortal and eternal, noble and eternal. Lin Chen is just a fruit from a seed, and he should be allowed to be picked by them. Guess whether I dare? Lin Chen's eyes showed a fierce light. The fierce power in his body affected the long river of time. I am an innate divine descendant, and you will be robbed. The ancient sky roared. The soul was reshaping, trying to regroup the body, but the birth was destroyed by Lin Chen. Oh? Really? Lin Chen said lightly, and the endless light of order showed up. For Lin Chen, enemies, dead enemies are the best enemies. I don't care who you are, you'll die for me, Lin Chen said violently. The light of order bloomed and stirred continuously. Gu Tian's soul revealed fluctuations of fear. Lin Chen really dared to kill him. There were such madmen in ancient history. But in the end, seeing that they were born with sacred blood, they all surrendered and never thought of resisting such things. But Lin Chen really dared to take action. That murderous intention could not be faked. He really wanted to drop him. Gu Tian was afraid, and his soul kept sending out fluctuations. Let me go. During the harvest, I can take you away from this piece of ancient history, leave this piece of time, and live a better life on the other side. Wherever you belong is where you belong, and that is where you should exist. Not this orchard. Lin Chen had a fierce look in his eyes. Let him go. Let's not talk about whether letting him go will really lead him and others to leave. Even if he can, what about those beings in the Yanhuang Empire? Where are his descendants? Lin Chen doesn't know. There is no way to know. As for leaving the Yanhuang Empire, Lin Chen has never thought about it. The seventh ancestor, Mu Sueking, has never wavered, and they did not take what Gu Tian said to heart at all. What they care about is Yanhuang, and they have devoted their lives to Yanhuang. If Yanhuang is here, they will be there. If Yanhuang is gone, then they will no longer be there. Lin Chen's eyes were filled with disillusionment. After hesitating for a moment, he still chose to take action. You will die, Goshen is fearful and roaring. The light of the white jade in his soul is constantly protecting him, but it is limited after all. It is not his own power, but the power flowing from the sacred existence in his body. There are so many criticisms. Even if I am going to die, you will take my back, so what is there to be afraid of? Lin Chen said indifferently with a fierce light in his eyes. I have tried the blood of gods, and I have tried the blood of demons, but I just don't know what innate sacred blood flowing with sacred blood is like, Lin Chen said slowly. The endless light of order bloomed, emerging continuously, intertwined with the endless light, and constantly eroding the soul of this ancient sky. This is a long time. The innate sacred blood flows. The ancient sky is not so easy to erase. Although the white jade light is weak, it always shines. It is an old monster who does not know how far he has traveled on the path of the ultimate. For these old monsters, Yimengkiang monsters are just commonplace things. They themselves are synonymous with the ultimate. Use the world as an orchard, plant seeds and wait for them to blossom and bear fruit. This requires a long time and absolute strength, otherwise it will be easy for the seeds to backfire. Long years after that, Lin Chen still wiped it out, and the white jade-colored light completely dissipated. Lin Chen unceremoniously swallowed the origin of Gu Tian. The origin of the innate sacred blood flowing. Lin Chen swallowed it without any politeness. He himself, his strength has improved, but there is still a long way to go before he can reach the ultimate level. Being an extreme level is far from that simple. Lin Chen still needs to transform.